Now guys, I want to preface this entire video by saying, for a while there it felt like Marvel had a great run, where the white noise of negativity that seems to pervade every major franchise fanbase hadn't crept into the Marvel fandom just yet, but obviously in the last 5 years a lot has changed, and where it seemed like a lot of that negative white noise was mostly from a corner of the fanbase and online, even some of the major editorials in the last couple of years haven't missed a shot to take a shot at Marvel, and in sensitive times like Variety basically releasing a hit piece and only a week before the Marvels hit theaters in late 2023. And while some of that criticism was just white noise to be ignored by people who had an agenda already online, some of it was warranted when diehards started to leave the fandom because the projects had lost their luster and they were obviously prioritizing quantity over quality. But a lot has happened between now and the late 2023, early 2024 Marvel Studios restructuring, where they basically changed their entire MO, changed how they're releasing films, and are looking forward to turning over a new leaf with the new Avengers films and the future of the MCU with Phase 7. But we are starting to hear more of the exact same as we wade into production on Avengers Doomsday, where two trusted industry insiders have weighed in with their varying opinion and point of view, with small details like the script not being finished and even that they've had to start replacing talent behind the camera, and again, this coming from trusted industry insider sources. We're going to break down all the latest and talk about who's saying what, and talk about the varying opinions here, when some are saying that the Avengers Doomsday production is a mess, while others are saying it's just more par for the course that is Marvel Studios. We're breaking it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. Thanks to everyone who's been subscribing lately, and if you haven't already, I would just kindly invite you to do so. It's the #1 thing you can do to support us here at the channel, plus it'll enter you for the giveaways if you want. Stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so while the rumor mill has been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks that the Avengers Doomsday production is a mess and not going well, let's focus on what some of the trusted industry insiders have said, and we'll start with none other than Daniel Richtman. You guys can follow him over on Twitter at DanielRPK, and again, if you're not familiar with channels like mine or who the industry insider Daniel RPK is, he is the most ubiquitous in the Marvel scoop game and definitely has the best track record, so much so that huge editorials like The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline have re-reported on his scoops sourcing him. So take that as you will. This is what he said about Avengers Doomsday in the last 2 weeks. Starting with the latest, quote, "I've heard that Rob Alonzo, the second unit director for Avengers Doomsday, has been replaced due to dissatisfaction with his work." Now, if true, is this really that big a deal? Well, I would say not so much, because Marvel Studios and the Russos have given themselves so much more time to complete this film. A second unit director's basic job is to speed up the production on the film by working to get shots that the main director and the main actors don't need to get. So they're filming everything from B-roll and establishing shots, scene footage, that sort of thing, to maybe even action sequences, but just with stunt doubles. And so while they're not the main directors and they're not shooting stuff with the main actors, their photography is still making it into the principal photography, still making it into the final cuts of the film. They're just meant to basically replace the Russos for stuff that isn't as important, and that's why if the Russos are reviewing that footage and saying it's not good enough, they feel like they got to go in a different direction. What's also super important is that the second unit director is working in lockstep with the directors so that the footage that he's shooting looks like it's part of the same movie. Different director, same film. And so again, there's a lot of reasons they may be looking to go in a different direction, but if this is true, there is still plenty of time for them to get the footage that's already been done, reshot, and whatever else they need. So here's the real truth. The fact that they've got enough time ahead of them, it's better to make that decision and that change now. And I can't necessarily say that this report indicates that the production is a mess. Rather, this is what you want. You want the people who are in charge to say, hey, that's not good enough, and make the change now, rather than end up in post-production and not have any photography they can use. That's how the reshoots get super expensive. That's how timetables get shifted, and we end up seeing things like Captain America Brave New World being delayed for over a year. But this next update that comes from Daniel RPK and a week ago, well, I'm not going to be so kind about this one. According to Daniel RPK, even though they've been filming for months now, they have not figured out the third act to Avengers Doomsday, which means that part of the script remains unfinished. Obviously, they're shooting the parts of the movie that they can, but what if they need to make a major change to the ending and they don't have what they need? Again, this is how reshoots and rewrites end up watering down a film, end up taking away from the original idea, and becoming extremely expensive in post when they have to reshoot major parts of the movie. Look, you guys know me. I am a Marvel diehard fan through and through like most of you. I really very rarely talk negative unless I think it's completely warranted. But in this case, it's one thing for Marvel Studios to say, hey, we're changing the way we do things, we're going for quality over quantity, we're going to start from the base up and really work on the pre-production and the writing of the scripts. But this is just more of the same. Movie by committee, we'll figure it out as we're shooting the movie, and there are plenty of examples when you wade into Marvel movies where either the rewrites become ridiculous, see Multiverse of Madness where Xochitl Gomez confirmed via one of her quotes that Michael Waldron's script was rewritten something like 20 or 21 times, or you end up with Thor Love and Thunder where it's pretty clear that Taika Waititi had the beginnings of the script or parts of a script, but he didn't have a finished script, or something like Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania where Jeff Loveness did have a couple of drafts of a finished script, but by the time the movie of committee had sort of watered it down, you had dialogue in the third act that didn't make sense because the dialogue that was in the first act that was meant to set that up had already been cut from the film. And in fact, I would argue that the strength of Michael Waldron's and Jeff Loveness scripts for Multiverse of Madness and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania respectively is actually what carried those films in spite of the movie by committee. But if we're just up for more of that on something like Avengers Doomsday, then I shudder to think that that film is not going to be what it can be. And so, look, firing the second unit director, some people may say, hey, that's a big deal. I say maybe not so much, but not having a third act to your Avengers film when you're months into filming, that is a big deal. That is a red flag. And if Marvel Studios thinks that they've changed their ways or they've learned from their mistakes, this is a perfect example of something that they seem to be repeating that I would say does not always lead to a great ending. However, Thunderbolts was an amazing movie with a great ending and a satisfactory story. And it seems by all accounts Fantastic Four is going to be the same way. So maybe we shouldn't worry as much. And that's where we get to the next Industry Insider update. This coming from Alex Perez over at the Cosmic Circus, who tweeted out this earlier today in regards to all this Avengers Doomsday production mess stuff. Quote, "Things are going fine. The sudden changes being reported aren't affecting or impacting the overall product. They just want it to be the best product it can be since the Avengers titles, quote unquote, have been extremely profitable." And of course, that makes sense and is a very measured response to all the changes that are being reported, like a second unit director being fired. However, they really need to finish the script and the third act, and I will feel a lot more comfortable about Avengers Doomsday production when I know they've locked the ending in, even though they're months into filming already. But for those of you worried about the production timeline, it's been heavily reported, although not confirmed by Marvel, that they'll actually be wrapping up principal photography for Doomsday in March of 2026 next year. So there is still plenty of time for them to finish that third act. Just hope that that doesn't mean they got to reshoot a bunch of the movie they've already shot when they figure it out. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below as always. I am all ears. If you've been hearing the same stuff, how you feel about it. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Alright, still giving away PlayStation 5s. The next one is technically next week for the Fantastic Four drop at the end of the week. I can't believe I'm saying that. Yeah, we are almost there. All you gotta do, be a subscriber, leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here, live with my voice in the winning comments shown on screen. Best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. Find me on all other platforms with original music under the name Allfires, and while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.